Derby Wars, racing's biggest contest site, is now even bigger with more than 200 games every day. Check out Survivor, Derby Wars' hottest new game. It's fun, easy to play, and for just $4 you could win $1,000. Just pick a horse to finish first, second, or third and advance to the next race. With daily payouts and games starting every hour, you'll see why fans are racing to play Survivor.
Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipsy, and as always, I have the great pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Schiffman. How are you today, Matt?
I'm great, Brian. What a wow weekend of racing at Saratoga on Saturday for the Travers. How about you join me up north for the Woodward?
Matt, I think I'll do that. I'm sorry I missed the Travers. So many big performances coming out of the woodwork. But yeah, I think Woodward sounds good. I'll see you there. Hey, Matt, Arrogate. Arrogate had been a horse that people have been talking about for months. But little did we know he would go from an allowance race, a 3-horse allowance race in California, to running the fastest Travers in the history of the universe.
I was surprised, Brian, just the way you phrased it. I did not expect the allowance horse to jump up and put in what on paper appears to be a performance for the last 20, 30 years.
He reminded me of Ghost Zapper in the Breeders' Cup Classic, Matt. He reminded me of California Chrome in the Pacific Classic, for that matter. He just went to the lead. Mike Smith got him out of the gate fast. I think by that time it was a speed track. He said strong fractions. I mean, these fractions, 23 and change, 46 and change, 110 and change. Mile and a quarter race, there's nothing wrong with those fractions. And then he just poured it on down the stretch. Arrogate's for real, right?
Well, that was certainly an amazing performance. And I just want to remind the handicapping fans of something that we've talked about before, that a horse can go out and set some healthy fractions like Arrogate did, but he was doing it easily. Nobody was pushing him. He opened up a nice lengths or so, and he was just on cruise control all the way around the track.
Huge performance, Matt, but I'm gonna try to quiet down the crazy hyperbole just a bit here. Obviously, that track at Saratoga had to be souped up just a little bit. And the fact that his closest competition early, American Freedom Gunrunner, good horses, mind you, but stayed second and third all the way around, that makes me think that there's something to this track surface.
And that wasn't the only race on the card that day that was kind of a merry-go-round race where the first 1, 2, 3 horses stayed in those positions all the way around. That's not to say that happened every race, but I'll tell you from experience walking out on that Saratoga track that on Saturday, the track was not nearly as deep as it had been on most other racing days.
I believe that, Matt. Looking at the times and looking at least the last 5 stakes races or so were run, I believe that. It was a track that was meant to be fast, and Arrogate did it. Arrogate ran what obviously Naira and Saratoga wanted. They wanted to see something good, something fast, and Arrogate gave them that, and he gave them more. Certainly the best 3-year-old performance of the year. Can we expect Arrogate? As of today, it looks like Exaggerator and Nyquist are still pointing for the Pennsylvania Derby, but Arrogate, Matt, might go straight to the Breeders' Cup Classic. His 6th race of his life looks to be the Breeders' Cup Classic. Can we expect Arrogate to be a real factor? California Chrome, possibly Frosted. Can this 3-year-old step up, do this kind of performance again, and possibly win the Classic over those top older horses?
Well, Mr. Baffert certainly got everything that he needed in Saratoga, and it happened earlier in the day with his horse Drefang, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit more. But the same kind of trip. It's home base for Arrogate. We know that he likes the Santa Anita racing surface. But Brian, it's going to be hard to repeat that kind of performance. But we'll have a lot of time to talk about it because Baffert says he's going to train him up to the race.
Yeah, I'm a believer now in Arrogate to a point, Matt. I think he's probably the most talented 3-year-old in the country. Nyquist, Exaggerator, whoever else you want to bring. I think Arrogate will be the 3-year-old champion if, and this is a huge if he can win the Breeders' Cup Classic. Giving him just 2 stakes wins, but the Travers, what he did in the Travers and then winning the Breeders' Cup Classic, I think would be enough to win at least the 3-year-old Eclipse Award. Just an awesome performance, and it made every horse in the race behind him look average. So it'll be interesting going forward. Speaking of horses that are not average, Matt, Lady Eli. Lady Eli had been away since her big Belmont Oaks win. She was 6 for 6 at the time. Everybody knows what happened. She stepped on a nail. She developed a bad case of laminitis. She survived. Matt, she did more than survive. She came back. She got back into training, and she was training great for her first race in about 14 months. What'd you see in the Boston Spa?
Well, it was really quite an experience. I kind of rushed down to the clubhouse to watch the race after the Travers, and boy, the fans were really rooting for Lady Eli, and it was really an emotional kind of fans there wanting to see the best from her. And the race played out kind of in an interesting way. And I saw a comment that I thought was a really good analysis of the race. They had a horse in there to set a pace, and in this case, maybe it backfired a little bit on the Chad Brown team, because they got out there and they went fast in the Boston Spa, and Lady Eli had to do a lot more running early, and she kind of won the battle. She beat a couple of really good horses in Sentieri Italia and Miss Temple City, and it looked like she had the race won. And maybe had they not gone so fast, I think she still would have beat those two, but maybe she would have had enough to hold on, because in that last 100 yards, you can't blame her for being tired after 14 months, and the long shot Strike Charmer was way outside. Lady Eli had no chance to see her coming and compete with that one.
Matt, I think you nailed it on the head at the end of that statement there. Lady Eli ran just an amazing race. She ran fast all the way around. It was 1:38 and change, final time for a mile and 16th. That's about as fast as they go. 1/5 off the track record. Strike Charmer has become a nice older mare this year. But yeah, the race set up for her. But Lady Eli did everything we wanted to see. Lady Eli came back, I think, in awesome form. And she got a little tired, 14 months off. It makes sense that she got a little tired there. But still, she ran a huge race. And who knows how good she can be. I didn't know that she was better than Tepin last year, and I don't know that she will be better than Tepin this year, but I certainly wouldn't put it past her. And it's just a wonderful story that this miraculous filly has come back now as a 4-year-old, survived everything she went through, and now she's come back and she looks like a top turf mare again. And who knows, maybe she will be the best turf mare in the country in the next month or two. Looks like they're going to try the Flower Ball at Belmont and then run her in the Breeders' Cup. It's just good to have her back.
It's terrific to have her back. And just as a note, seeing some of the interviews with the owners of Lady Eli going into the race, I don't think I quite realized how dire the situation had been with her bout of laminitis at some point. So miraculous recovery and a fantastic performance, keeping that in mind.
And Strike Charmer. We'll give Strike Charmer credit for the win. Good win. Mark Henning stable. But Lady Eli was the story of the race for me, and she did not disappoint, even though she is suffering her first loss of her career. Who cares? She's back and she's good. All right, Matt, let's keep it with the turf, because Flintshire did what everyone expected. Flintshire won the Sword Dancer, his second Sword Dancer in 2 years, rather easily. But there's some other issues in the race, and I think we should address them. He had an uncoupled pacemaker, kind of like Lady Eli did in the Boston Spa, and that pacemaker may have set the race up for him, much more so than the other Chad Brown horse in the race, Money Multiplier, who I thought ran a very good race.
Yeah, and in the race, it was interesting that rabbit broke very badly out of the gate and had to get rushed up and tear his way through the field to get up to the lead and set that pace. But I don't know. I don't think Flintshire needs a rabbit. I think he's just so good. He doesn't need the help.
Yeah, the Bowling Green, I think we saw some real race riding tactics in a short field where they boxed him in a little bit. And maybe that's the reason that we saw a pace setter in the Sword Dancer. This pace setter seemed to be a little bit more abrupt in how he handled things. Aaron Greider, of course, rode him. They said there was some clipping of heels coming out of that far turn, and that's why he was looking back and then all of a sudden shifted out. He did bother other horses to some extent. Money Multiplier was bothered a little bit. I'm not sure that it was necessarily by the rabbit coming out at that point, but Money Multiplier was bothered a little bit. He came flying for second, and I think Money Multiplier, the 4-year-old Chad Brown trained horse, is getting very good. So while Flintshire deserves all the credit in the world, he is clearly the best turf horse in the United States, at least the male turf horse. We should give a little credit to Money Multiplier as a horse that might be getting this good and might be at least in the ballpark of Flintshire as we get closer to the Breeders' Cup turf.
No doubt it's a horse that can win some really nice stakes races if he stays out of the way of his stablemate Flintshire.
And by the way, Matt, when all these good Europeans come over, Postpone, they're talking about Postpone, the best turf horse in Europe coming over. I'm not going to bet Postpone against Flintshire. I think Flintshire, especially on this American style of racing, especially at Santa Anita, even more so, I think Flintshire has the Europeans by the cojones here, and I think Flintshire will be one of the more likely horses to win Breeders' Cup time, Europeans or no.
Yeah, I certainly agree. And, you know, I think it's one of the really good stories of racing in general this year is the progress that the Americans have made running on the turf with just the wonderful performance that the Americans had out at the festival at Arlington Park. And now with Flintshire and Tepin and all of those. And yeah, I know, I'm claiming Flintshire for us now.
Well, he's made 5 races in the United States, Matt. Let's claim him. I want to claim him.
Yeah.
He never runs for a tag, though, so we can't claim him. But at least as a expatriate of Europe and now an American horse, let's claim him. You want to do that?
Let's do it. Turf racing is getting awfully good in our country now.
That's right. It is. And I think another thing, a lot of these horses are running at advanced ages. They're allowed to stay in training when they get to be 5, 6, and we're seeing a good example of that. A good example of that happened also on the great Saratoga Travers card, and that was AP Indian. AP Indian is now a 6-year-old, a well-bred, mind you, Matt, 6-year-old. Granted, he never had huge success before, but now as a 6-year-old, he's 5 for 5, certainly the best sprinter in the East Coast.
And that was just a tremendous performance with Joe Bravo up. Every time I handicapped that race, Brian, I was looking for horses, and every time I went through, I was saying, who's going to beat AP Indian? If you don't like AP Indian in that race, who are you going to pick? And that turned out to be the case. Just coming around the turn into the stretch, took off, dominant performance. You love seeing those older horses get good like that.
Yeah, 6 years old. Obviously, he's never better, and this probably was his best performance yet. Ran fast early, chased a fast pace, and just looked so strong, made it look so easy down the stretch. AP Indy. Now, speaking of another horse who's clearly the best of her class, I'm talking about the older females on the East Coast. It's hard to say anybody but Cavorting now after what she did in the Ruffian, the Ogden Phipps, which were both 1 turn at Belmont, and now 2 turns at Saratoga. Cavorting proved that she's the best older female in the East with a win in the personal ensign.
Yep, and after answering that 2-turn question, can she go 2 turns? This Stone Street, Kieran McLaughlin runner moved up to the top of the older female class with just a tremendously impressive performance.
Yeah, other horses ran very well in the race. Carolina ran well. Forever Unbridled ran another good race. I'm a Chatterbox ran well. But I thought Cavorting really was going to win the whole way, kind of. It's strange to say when she wins kind of by less than a length there, but I thought she was best. Now, she is undefeated at Saratoga. She's 4 for 4 lifetime. So I don't know, maybe that cancels out the two-turn question a little bit, that she clearly likes that track. But seeing what she did at Belmont before earlier this year, clearly she's the best of this group in my mind. I'm not sure if she's as good as Stellar Wind and especially Beholder. Throw the 3-year-old in Songbird, and you've got the makings of a special Breeders' Cup distaff this year, Matt.
No question about it. And Cavorting, that it was only a field of 5, but it was an elite field that she beat there, and that adds to her performance also. But there's a lot of super field shaping up for the Breeders' Cup, and the sprint that we were just talking about is one of them, and the distaff. Wow.
Yeah, the distaff could be my favorite race of the day as it's shaping up. If we just get the 4 that I mentioned there, Songbird, Beholder, Stellar Wind, and Cavorting, wow is a great word, Matt. Now, getting back to the sprinters, it was the race before AP Indian. And before AP Indian came out, it looked like Drefong was going to be the sprinter of the day at Saratoga, this 3-year-old from the Bob Baffert barn who's always been well liked. He's undefeated this year, but now he was really doing something out of his comfort zone. He went across country to Saratoga, the son of Gio Ponte, 7 furlongs against a full field of good sprinters in New York. He made it look easy too, Matt. He went right to the lead from his outside post, and he cruised.
He made it easy. Kind of a performance just like his stablemate Arrogate's performance, but only going 7 furlongs. Right out of the gate, got to the lead, got separation from the rest of the field, got into just a beautiful stride, and blew the field away.
Blew the field away, Matt. I think that AP Indian on this day was just a little bit more impressive. He was a little bit faster. He's probably beating a little bit tougher competition, although I don't know about that with all the good 3-year-olds that were in the King's Bishop. But maybe Drefong has a little bit more of a room for improvement still. Drefong is a serious horse. We saw Masochistic beat just a 3-horse sham of a field at Del Mar, but he did it really fast again. Obviously, Masochistic is a huge talent. And then, of course, Lord Nelson, who's been number 1 on my sprinter list for a few months now, probably still is. But Drefong, AP Indian, yeah, all of a sudden the sprint group is looking pretty darn strong.
It sure is, and keeping in mind that the Breeders' Cup sprint for the males is 6 furlongs.
6 for the males, 7 for the females. I never quite understood that. There's a dirt mile, of course, for the males, so I think that's why it's only 6, but it's always been 6, so we'll see. Fur will fly that day at Breeders' Cup Santa Anita on November 5 for a lot of reasons, Matt, but the sprint being a big one. All right, Matt, how about we talk about one more sprinter at Saratoga winning? This was kind of a cool story. Tom Morley gets his first grade 1 stakes win. Maggie Wolfendale, of course, a NYRA personality. She does a great job in the paddock there. She's married to Tom Morley. They're expecting their first child. And now we see Have You Gone Away, winning stakes at Saratoga. And now she won the grade 1 Ballerina. She did it in thrilling style.
Yep, they've done. Tom Morley done a terrific job with this horse. Got his first graded stakes win earlier in the meet, and now a grade 1, the Ballerina. It was kind of cool, and you didn't see it on TV, or maybe I don't know if they showed it or not. But Maggie was terrific, screaming and yelling and jumping around as their horse came down to the wire.
Yeah, she got there, and I thought she made a lot of sense. That was my best winner of the day. I guess she was sent off at 10-1, 7 furlong race. They didn't rally after her though, but she was able to make up ground in the stretch, so that was nice to see. Matt, we just talked about Arrogate, Lady Eli, Strike Charmer, Flintshire, AP Indian, Cavorting, Drefong, and then Have You Gone Away? What was your favorite performance of the day? Easy question, right?
Yeah, Brian, that is one tough question, but I think, I love Flintshire, but I think maybe AP Indian was my favorite performance.
favorite performance, but the best performance of the day, Matt, was Arrogate. Let's not fool ourselves. Arrogate ran the fastest Travers ever, won by 13.5 lengths. Wow. Wow for Arrogate. We can't wait to see more from him. We'd love to see him face older horses like California Chrome, the leader of the division. And of course, a horse that I'm fond for, Frosted. And Matt, that's our segue into next week, because the headliner of next week will be the Woodward, the Grade 1 Woodward Stakes. And Frosted leads the way. He's got Comfort coming back, the lightly raced Fletcher, who is getting good and was second in the Whitney. But also there's a bunch of new shooters this time, going from the Whitney to the Woodward for Frosted to face. You like Frosted's chances in this field?
I do like Frosted's chances in this field, Brian. Absolutely. We got Braidster coming in there, and Braidster is a talented horse and can be a dangerous horse when he's at the top of his game.
Braidster's won 3 stakes this year in 3 races. He's undefeated this year. He's a Grade 1 winner, and he will be the speed of the Woodward. That's always dangerous. Mubdahij. Last time we saw Mubdahij against Frosted, Mubdahij actually beat Frosted when he was second in the Dubai World Cup. Mubdahij, obviously a classy horse in his own right. Who else is in there, Matt? The Brooklyn winner. Shaman Ghost looked good in the Brooklyn. And Samrod. It's nice to see Samrod coming back in good form. He ran a bang-up race in the Suburban. So not the simplest field in the world for my man Frosted, but I think we both like his chances Saturday in the Woodward.
I think he's going to be a pretty big favorite in that race.
Yeah, he will be bet, that's for sure. Matt, it's also a wonderful weekend for 2-year-olds. We have Grade 1 2-year-olds on both coasts, a pair of them. The Del Mar Debutante and the Spinaway are on Saturday. The Hopeful and the Del Mar Futurity are on Monday. Of the 4, I'm really looking forward, Matt, to the Del Mar Futurity on Friday. I think Straight Fire, Jim Rome partnership of Jim Rome is the real deal. That's LNJ Foxwoods and Jim Rome's 2-year-old Straight Fire. But Chasing Aces is coming off a track record. Klimt, your man Klimt won for Baffert, a nice race recently. So the Del Mar Futurity, I think, is going to be a hugely key race as we get closer to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Got some talented 2-year-old boys going to run in the Hopeful at Saratoga also.
Absolutely, and don't forget the girls, the Spinaway and the Debutante on Saturday. Going to be another big weekend, Matt. We'll be here to talk about it all next week. Maybe we'll see the Derby winner do his thing, the future Kentucky Derby winner do his thing this weekend, or Kentucky Oaks winner as well. Thank you again for watching another edition of HorseCenter. As always, it's our great pleasure to come to you from the Horse Racing Nation headquarters here. As always, Matt, we're brought to you by the best contest site out there, Derby Wars.
And I want to thank our producer, Brett Workman, for getting us on the internet so that we can do this show for you.
It wasn't as easy as sometimes, Matt, but yeah, thank you, Brett Workman. And thank you, folks, all for watching us every week on HorseCenter. We love doing the show for you. We'll see you at the track soon. Have a good week.